Well, welcome back to my YouTube. I'm Jennifer Hollick with the World War II Research and Writing Center and the Ancestral Souls Wisdom School. And I want to share with you just briefly a little bit of information about a record group that you might find on Fold3 and also NARA Catalog that contains some very interesting records. Now, this is the World War II European Theater Army records from 1941 to 1946. And I want to share with you what they look like on Fold3. So these records show up as a publication, and they are divided into 6 different series. Okay, but the way Fold3 has set these up, they are very challenging to search because really you have to hit one of the keywords in one of the file names in order for it to pop up if you are looking at it this way. Now, if you are searching for somebody through the main search screen, chances are that you're going to find things that come up this way. Okay, so that is one way to search this. Now, these European Theater Army records contain a lot of information. Some of it is digitized, some of it is not digitized. And most people, I think, overlook these records only because they're looking for the basic genealogy facts, which military research is not like genealogy research. You can't just attach a couple records to your tree and call it done. It requires a different kind of timeline. It requires a different strategy, one that I developed 15 years ago, and I teach every single month. And it requires a different set of records because you're really, once you put a timeline together and know units, ships, or stations and where somebody was, you need the context. You need to understand what their service was like. And there are plenty of places to find that. This record group and this series are one of them. Now, again, you can find this on Fold3, but you can also find this on NARA Catalog. I find it is much easier to search this on NARA Catalog. And while I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, I want to show you one series or a couple of different series within this record group that might provide you with some interesting information. Now, this record group is vast, but I found some files called the helper files a couple of weeks ago as I was doing some prep for another class. And I wanted to give you an idea of what these contain because they're very interesting. So let's take a look at NARA Catalog. I also think, while I love this record group, I think it's a little bit easier to search on NARA's website, okay? Only because you can go to record group 498 and you can search within this record group. Now, as with every record group or series, it is going to tell you how much of it is actually digitized, okay? But when you search within here, let's just say we're looking for helper, and I'm going to put that in quotes, okay? And just see what comes up. Now, as I've said in other videos and every time I teach, NARA Catalog is very wonky. And sometimes the keywords will pull up exactly what you're looking for, and sometimes they will not, even if it's right in the title. So you really have to be creative in how you're searching. Now, these helper files consist of escape and evasion reports and many other things. For example, case files of Belgian helpers. Now, what might you find within this that would be of interest to you as you are doing your research? Well, there are a lot of different files of Belgians who assisted Allied airmen, Allied soldiers who were behind enemy lines. Sometimes these Allied personnel were being taken prisoner. Sometimes they were being treated in a hospital before they had to be handed over to the Germans to be put into POW camp. Sometimes these helpers in all of these different European countries helped get the personnel back behind Allied lines. Okay, now within these helper files, and there are many, and I actually have a whole list of them within my NARA toolkit, which is available on my online course site. I'll put a link below. I have 5 PDFs in that. But within these files, you might find interesting things like, and this one is not pulling up properly, you might find interesting things like newspaper clippings or letters that went unsent to a family member that were still held by the, in this case, Belgians who were assisting the Allied personnel. You might find information on how somebody from the Allies worked with the Belgians, or someone from Luxembourg or the Netherlands, and how they helped participate with different resistance activities, or what they did, how they were treated, how they were able to eventually get back to the Allied lines. These records are amazing. Okay. I've found letters that airmen wrote but were never mailed that are collected within here. So you might find personal family details. I have found newspaper clippings. I have found military records, and I found a lot of different histories about what happened to these different Allied individuals that they helped. So if I were researching somebody who I either heard or knew, so maybe a family story, maybe it was whispered in the family, maybe it was kind of a rumor, or I knew somebody went missing in action, this is one record group that I would search just to see, does their name pop up? Or if they were with a bomb crew and the bomber crashed, do any of those people show up in these files? Because when you research those collaterals, and maybe, let's say the pilot of that bomber died, but the co-pilot survived and was taken in by a Belgian, and there is testimony or other information there about the crash, about the mission, about the rest of the crew, you're going to be able to add that to your timeline and to the story that hopefully you're going to write about your individual. All right, so that's just a really quick overview of this record group. Again, I prefer to search it on NARA Catalog. It's just easier for me than using Fold3. But this record group contains a lot of different helper files, interrogation reports, maps. There might be some photos scattered here or there. It's just quite a lot of information. So go out and explore NARA Catalog, see what you can find. Search for service number, search for name, first name, middle initial, last name, comma, first name, middle initial. Search for the people that your veteran or fallen served with. Search for the names of the battles. Search for the names of the aircraft if they were part of an air crew. Search for the missing air crew number. There's lots of different ways you can search this, and a lot of really great information and context that you aren't going to find anywhere else. So, are you using this record group? What have you discovered? Drop me a comment, let me know, be sure to subscribe, and if you have any other questions or there's a specific record set that you would like information on, let me know. I developed the two-part strategy to research any veteran World War I to Vietnam, even if the record's burned. And even if you're doing Navy, Coast Guard, Marine, or Merchant Marine, and you have a service file, you're still reconstructing service history because none of those files come with all the answers. It's just a giant puzzle that you get to put together. So ask your questions, share this video, and maybe I'll see you in class.